Hey, what's up, secret community? My name is Mike, aka Goonie, and I'm here to talk about a theory that I had that involves the 12 tribes of Israel and how they connect to the secret, the puzzle. Um, this kind of really came about. When I started to see connections throughout the puzzles and the story of the 12 tribes. And the most recent one or puzzle that was solved was Boston. And that really had some good connections between the 12 tribes of Israel and the secret. And that one was kind of the tipping point for me. And almost a really solid confirmation that there might be something behind this. So I use Boston as a base. I could also look at Chicago and Cleveland, and they both have attributes to the tribes and the verse and the image, just like the Boston puzzle. The key in the Boston puzzle was obviously, now we know, was the word home. Um, and if you look at the connection between the tribe that's associated, or at least that I associated to Boston, was Zebulun. And Zebulun in Hebrew means dwelling. And dwelling obviously means home. So you have a connection in the verse to the tribe. And so using that kind of thought process, I started going through the puzzles and finding these connections. But what I want to talk today about is more specific about the San Francisco puzzle and how the tribes or the tribe of Dan connects to the San Francisco puzzle. When I was looking at the connection between the tribe of Dan, first I started off with the meaning of the tribe or Dan. And the meaning in Hebrew is judged. And so when I was looking at the verse, obviously, justice immediately popped up. And then when you start taking a look at the image, we have a barred window. And typically bars in this kind of setting or illustration could mean a few things. It could mean wood, which it's probably more leaning towards something more solid like iron. And that's pretty typical of what you're going to find in fences, in windows. And so that's what I see here in the image. I see a barred window. And what's interesting about the placement of the window, it's in the rock, right? So you start to think, especially in San Francisco, bars and rock, and it's almost to a San Franciscan that the thing that you're going to think about is Alcatraz, which is a prison, right? So you take the word justice and you take the depiction of this window with bars in it, and you can make that connection to a jail or a prison or something that justice has been served. And What's interesting about Alcatraz, it's a penitentiary, and we'll get into that a little bit down the road. So making the connections between the tribe of Dan and San Francisco, it's really interesting to see what kind of popped up. And so when I was looking at the coat of arms for the tribe of Dan, it depicted two different coat of arms. One was it looked like a phoenix, and the other emblem associated with the tribe of Dan is a serpent. And so when you take a look at the image, the dragon is basically a cross between a bird and a snake. So here you have that connection just in the coat of arms or in the emblem to the tribe, and now in the image. So to me, this was pretty solid. This was something that I can really sink my teeth into and really get a good bite out of it, you know. So when I was looking at the connections in the verse, the word justice is pretty much, you can connect that to the word judge. And the word judge in different aspects could mean, where somebody is in a court, and, you have the setting of the judge, which sits on a bench, and you are surrounded by lawyers. And what do lawyers do? To become a lawyer, they have to take the bar, and here we have bar in the image. So there's a lot of connections, I think, that are layered into this puzzle, but those are just a few kind of surface connections that seem to be more than a coincidence from the tribe aspect to the puzzle aspect. So I started looking a little bit more into these types of connections. And when I was going through the San Francisco verse, and I have an end destination just by using the verse and some of the image, but I hadn't really connected the tribe to it yet. It was more of after I got to the place where the verse led me, I saw some major connections to the tribe. Just like in Boston, you had words in the verse that actually stood out to the tribe for Boston on site. Home plate, Ironside. Those are the things that kind of connected Boston to the tribe of Zebulon. So the same thing kind of goes here for San Francisco. I'm looking at a different way to kind of read the verse. And when I was looking at the verse, especially probably the most debated line in the verse is an object of Twain's attention, right? There's so many people and have so many different opinions on what this could be. Is the object a book? Is it a statue? Is it, a street? Is it, a building? There's a lot of different connections you can make. Twain was basically everywhere in San Francisco, so you can make a connection just about on any corner of every street in San Francisco. So it's such a mysterious line in the verse. But I think if you look at the verse in context of what it's trying to say. I think it ties into the final location, and I think it also ties into the word justice. And how I got there was, if you look at the verse, it is an object. Okay, so let's take that part, is an object. So we're looking for basically a noun, and the second part is of his attention. So when you look for an object, right, that created his attention or that got his attention, I think a lot of people think that that's what it is. I think it's more what created the attention to the namesake of Mark Twain. Basically, it's his pen name, right? So the object, I think, is the word pen. And now the word pen is a homonym, right? So you can use that in different ways. And I know this isn't like the first time people have thought this, but I really think it connects to an actual physical location. So I think we're looking in the verse, the object is pen. We have Twain, so we have Mark Twain, just pen name. So we're using the word pen, which is an object, it's a writing tool, but it also is an enclosure. And I think this also ties in with the last line of the verse, the word kept. And so when you use the word pen, not in the writing, context, which you're not going to be on a street and searching for a puzzle looking for a pen. I mean, maybe you find it. I don't know. Maybe there's a pen store, but that's probably not what the verse is trying to tell us. So I think the object is the word pen. And like I said, I think it's got a different meaning. I think it means enclosure. So we're looking for actually an enclosure, a pen, like where animals are kept, basically. And what's interesting about that is that when you look up the word pen in the dictionary, and this was, I did it, I had a 1985 dictionary, and I looked up the definition under pen, and one of the second, I think, definitions for it was an enclosure where animals are kept. So it really ties in that last line with that part of the verse. And so now we're going back to the word pen, which is interesting enough, is that Alcatraz, going back to what I had first said, it's a penitentiary. And a penitentiary, obviously, is a state or federal prison, a jail. You can make that connection between bars and justice. And we have one of the most famous penitentiaries in Alcatraz, the rock. And obviously we see that in the image. We have a rock, we have bars in the rock. And so what's interesting about that is that when I was walking through the verse and I got to this location, and I kind of knew what I was looking for, but when I got to the location, it really honed it in. It really brought the word justice and the word pen to a physical place in a physical area. So going to this place, the main factor that we all look for in these images, right, is that one thing that you need on site that's going to tell you, okay, I'm here, or this is what I need to see to be there. And obviously we have in the verse giant pole, right? So that's probably going to be pretty big of what you're going to need at the location. But I think with the bars in the image, which is pretty clear, kind of like Chicago, where you had the fence and fixture, Cleveland, you had the wall. I think the bars in the image are going to be like, this is a telling sign that you're in the right place. And so when I got to this place in San Francisco, and I came upon what I thought the clue was for the Twain verse, which was the word pen. I came upon this little section, a little park that had these attributes. It has iron bars. It has it's a smaller fence, and there's things inside this park that kind of play into the word pen. So I'll kind of show you what you'll see on site. So our education and justice, and I think the justice plays into the Twain clue pen. And the area that the verse led me to was this little tiny park. And this little tiny park, again, has a low fence, or an iron fence, which have these bars that surround the whole park. So when you look at the term pen, this pretty much fits the definition. It's a low fence. It's ironed. It has iron bars. And which is really interesting about this, and then it's green, right? So when you look in the image, we see the color green, right? It's on the leaves. And if you connect those leaves form a triangle. And so here we have a little tiny park that has a green iron fence. And what's interesting about this little fence is the connection that I think the verse and this word pen have in common. If you look at the next slide, I'll show you. It's obviously it's a bench, and I kind of got ahead of myself. But anyways, so this is another aspect of the word judge, right? What does a judge sit on? He sits on a bench. And the bench is connected to bars. Well, just like in a courtroom, you have a judge that sits on a bench that presides in front of lawyers, which had to take the bar to become a lawyer. So there's some connections here. Maybe it's a little beyond what people will accept, but the way I saw it, it's it could work. But let's go back to the word kept in the verse. So if you look at the dragon is within the border, this gold border that wraps around the dragon. It wraps around the nose, it wraps around the midsection, it wraps around the two loops. It never breaks the border. So the border kind of almost gives you that impression that it's keeping the dragon in. And it's almost, you can almost take the word kept and associate what's going on in the image and with the dragon. Because if you look closely, the loops kind of go outside the blue area, but the gold area keeps it in. So to me, this was the kind of, okay, this makes sense, that we have an animal, right, or a creature that's held within some type of border or enclosure. And basically that's the essence of the word pen in the sense of an enclosure. So here we have a creature that's in a border, and you can make that connection between the word pen and kept. And so what's really interesting about that is this park has bears in it, and it's behind this fence. So it's almost a visual of the word pen. Here you have a lower fence, an iron fence, and it has animals in it. I mean, it's pretty spot on to the word pen. And so when you look at the word pen and justice and penitentiary and jail, they all kind of line up to this one area. And what's really interesting about this area is that you can see in the picture here that I took, you can see there's water and there's rocks that surround this little pond. So in the image, we're looking at a creature which is a dragon, is associated with water. We have a tower of rock in the image. We have bars. This site alone has bars. It has water. Maybe that's the representation of the dragon, or even the bear. It's a creature, right? It has rocks. So a lot of it makes sense right here in this one area. And so the connection between the tribe of Dan and the meaning judge kind of puts it all in context in this one spot. Meaning we have the word pen. It could relate to the word justice. We have a bench, which also could relate to a judge. We have an enclosure. These animals here, there's two bears. There's two golden bears, right? We have the color gold in the image, are kept in this enclosure. And I think a lot of it really kind of stands out in this one section. And what's even more interesting is that within this little tiny park, there is one pole. There's a lot of poles outside this park, all over the street, the sidewalk, but there's one pole inside this enclosure, which isolates it, which could be the giant pole in the verse. So again, this is kind of my thoughts about how the tribe of Dan and the word judge plays into a final location. And I think in my theory that this is the final location, or it has attributes to the tribe and the final location. Kind of like if you look at Boston had that. It had the word home, You can associate with the word dwelling. It had the coat of arms for the tribe is a galleon, a ship, and right outside the park there, I mean, you have the home of Ironside. So a lot of those things kind of play into how I see the San Francisco puzzle and this particular location. So hopefully that helps kind of explain my connection to the word Dan and the secret puzzle. So I've created a website, and I think the link is below it. Click on it, go check it out. It's a blog of all the stories of some of the adventures that I kind of have gone through in looking for this treasure. A lot of it's so much fun, and I've had so much to do in this journey, and I just wanted a place to put it all. So it's something fun. Check it out. Subscribe. Leave comments. Tell me I'm crazy. I don't know. I am crazy, obviously. But if you want to talk more about it, send me a message. Okay. Later.